Hey everybody, welcome back to Kicking in the Second Half, KISH YZ. Here is podcast episode number 34, calling this NBA Dynasties 2, because I think we've already done an NBA Dynasties where we talked about future dynasties in an episode early on when we started doing the podcast. Can't remember. I'm for sure or for certain that we did, so that's why this is called 2. And the subtitle is East. So we're doing, the Eastern Conference dynasties, not covering a lot of teams, just a general sense of where we're going here. So an outline of new dynasties, the return of a dynasty, and who's in, who's out type of dynasty talk. So kind of 3 segments into this podcast episode. So let's start off with the first segment, new dynasty. And what inspired this podcast episode was, what I saw on ESPN about the Bucks, how Giannis is saying that, the Bucks are, or it could be a new dynasty or in the works of being a new dynasty. Now, granted, we all have different definitions somewhat of what an NBA dynasty is or a sports dynasty in general. So I try to look it up, and just the quickest, briefest thing that I saw was something pertaining towards a team winning at least 2 championships in a short amount of time. You tell me how much time, 5 years, 4 years, 2 out of 4 years. Is that a dynasty? Miami Heat, 2 out of 4. Something like that. Something that's inspiring winning culture, but as well, you definitely have to win a championship, I guess, is what is part of the dynasty, imprint. Like, you can form a dynasty or call it that early on, but to solidify it as a dynasty, yeah, I would say you definitely would have to win multiple championships. So the Bucks, they just won the 2021 NBA championship. So first championship under Giannis's reign here as the leader of this team. So what are we looking at here with this dynasty? We're looking at, multiple MVPs, right? Can Giannis get some more MVPs in there? Or does he have 2 already, or is it just 1? I'm trying to think back. I'm sorry, I should have looked that up before we even started this, but put in the comments, does he have 1 or 2? I'll probably even look it up after I'm done with this. Another thing, multiple All-Stars, even just Giannis alone, but you throw in Chris Middleton. Brook Lopez has been an All-Star. That was back when he was on the Brooklyn Nets. Wow, I don't even know if we want to count that, but that's just part of the veteran presence. Then you have Drew Holiday, hadn't been, that far removed from being an All-Star before, and then another All-Star return last year. So, and then you got defense. They're a great defensive team, but you have Giannis there with the multiple Defensive Player of the Years awards. So that you have that combination of all these, accolades that lead to, if you put that together with a championship, they had this, had that, had this, they had a little bit of everything, and that's kind of what you want to see from a fan's perspective or a historical perspective when you're talking about this dynasty, 10 years down the road, if they're winning championships and they're having all of these trophies lined up and awards, that really looks good and sounds good on paper, and then you can argue, this dynasty versus that dynasty. So yeah, I like what they have here. They have a good mix of vets, a good mix of youth players, and then their core with being mainly Giannis and Middleton in their prime years, with Giannis still growing into his prime and actually not reaching his peak prime years yet. Chris Middleton has made big jumps the last. Okay, and that's why it's good to have an extra battery here. So let's see if I can pick this up where I left off at, and that was talking about the prime core there. So yeah, with Chris Middleton and Giannis just leading that core and being in their primes, NBA primes as far as athleticism and everything like that, and the way technology and mental health and things of that nature help players to extend their primes and extend their NBA careers. Just looking at a player like Brook Lopez, who could be interchangeable as far as maybe finding a replacement down the road as he ages, if he's not able to stay up to par to help them remain a dynasty or win multiple championships, if it's, if we're talking 4 or 5 years down the road. But Giannis and Chris Middleton, I even like Drew Holiday there for several more years. I mean, as far as what they got, you're talking over the next 3 to 4 years, they can possibly be in the finals every year. I mean, there's going to be teams that's going to challenge them for sure and try to make it out the East. And I mean, even this year, they're going to experience a challenge. But, once you get that taste of blood of the championship, of winning, and that you're destined for greatness, but yet at the same time, you're getting better as an individual. Your team is getting better, and there's just so much opportunity, and your fans are behind you. You know, you have a city behind you who's just rooting for the greatness. It's just, you know, things are going to be lined up on your side. You're going to have a big target on your back, but you know, we've been looking for that new LeBron of the East as far as who's going to take the reign, as far as being that guy you have to go through to make it out of the East. I mean, Giannis has a pretty good shot at already being that guy, being that force of nature of like, look, if you don't take these guys out, you're not making it out. We're looking a couple years ago or a couple seasons ago with the NBA bubble, with Miami Heat making it out the East. Obviously, they're going to be tough this year. I have some opinions about that. Maybe we'll get to later on another podcast or so. But, you know, they made it to the finals, but they did take out the Bucks earlier on. So who's to say if they didn't take out the Bucks that the Bucks wouldn't have made it to the finals that year? But obviously the Bucks did make it to the finals last year, and they swept the tired Heat from that bubble layoff that they had, that short off season. But, you know, the Bucks ultimately, you know, winning against the Nets, even if they were shorthanded or not, they won that game. You know, and made it out the East after the round after that. So they did what they needed to do and got themselves in position to win the title, and then, you know, ultimately winning the title. So, you know, it only takes one to start your journey on winning more championships and becoming a dynasty. So, I mean, if they go back to back, they got, you know, what we can consider a mini dynasty here, but they remain in contention as far as, you know, battling it in the Eastern Conference Finals and then making a couple more championship runs, you know, in the next several years is yet to be determined. But they have a legit chance and legit case of, you know, this could be the beginning of a new dynasty. Like I said, predating their championship. You look at the awards that Giannis was racking up, and now you got multiple All-Stars on the same team. So, you know, big things to be expected from them, especially if you're a fan of the Bucks. Shout out to people in Milwaukee. Shout out to the Felon Lucky podcast crew over there. That is Lucky and Big Daddy. So, you know, congratulations once again on winning that NBA championship for the 2021 NBA season. So let's move on from New Dynasty in the East, and we're going to talk about the return dynasty, or the return of a dynasty. And could that be the Chicago Bulls? I kind of had my doubts at the beginning of the offseason as far as what direction the Bulls were going to go. I liked that they picked up Nikola Vucevic, which I guess they didn't pick up, but they traded for him last season, and I was like, well, I guess this might be an experiment. You know, he was a big contract to have. They're going to possibly see if he, you know, fits in or not, and then they might have to move on from him after, you know, the end of last season. And, you know, they stuck by it, stuck with him. You know, he played pretty good with Zach LaVine. Kobe White did not develop into the player I thought he was going to develop into, at least not last season. But then, what did they do? They added Lonzo Ball. So it's like, okay, well, you got a playmaker there. And then you know, adding in DeMar DeRozan's like, okay, well, you got another scorer, but you already have Zach LaVine. Like, you know, we'll see how that works. But with having Lonzo, he's going to be able to find the open guy or the cutter. DeMar likes to get his points within the arc. You know, he's a mid-range assassin there. So, you know, Zach LaVine likes to shoot threes. He likes to pull up. He can catch and shoot. Then you throw in Alex Caruso just to top things off as far as what you have on your bench. And now you have a winning formula there, and you got rid of the player that you didn't really want to have anymore with Lauri Markkanen to free things up. So you definitely have your defined core and your defined guys as far as knowing their roles on the team. Like, you put together the pieces that you needed to make this work. You know, like I said, looking back a year ago with just having Zach LaVine there, and then adding Nikola Vucevic, then adding Lonzo Ball, adding Alex Caruso and DeMar DeRozan. Wow, what a team. And not to mention that, you know, they're 4-0 as of the making of this video. So they're legit contenders this year. And did I not mention in the previous podcast? I guess I didn't cover that stuff. But yeah, I wrote down on a note card earlier this week that I have them in, you know, my top 4 of the East to make it out of the East. So just a quick rundown of the things that I didn't mention. Like looking at the East, I think the top 4 teams. Obviously, you got maybe not in this particular order, but you have the Milwaukee Bucks, you have the Miami Heat, you have the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion, and then I will go ahead and give credit and honor to the Brooklyn Nets as far as what they have right now. But if the Sixers get Simmons, I might give them that final spot. Now, don't get me wrong, there's no hate against the Knicks. The Knicks are definitely a playoff team, in my opinion. Top four is pushing it a little bit, or at least the way they're looking now. They might be able to develop and take that top four. Like the Sixers still have problems with Simmons. The Nets, if they're still having issues figuring out how they're going to find other scoring options and be a complete team, especially without Kyrie Irving, then yeah, you're looking at the Knicks or the Hawks could definitely take that fourth spot. But right now, I would give honor and credit to the teams that were in, two of the teams that were possibly end up in the fourth spot there in the top four of the East that were in the top four of the East last year. The Sixers did have the best record in the East last season, so we can't forget that Simmons did do some good on the team, at least regular season Ben Simmons. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, going back to the return of a dynasty, the Chicago Bulls, they're just having so far a heck of a season, and they've put together a great team where I don't think there's too many overlapping in abilities as far as clutter. Like, okay, this guy is being counterproductive as far as blocking what this guy can produce. Everybody's producing very well and filling their roles and the holes of what the team lacked last season. So, I mean, at any time, Nikola Vucevic could easily step up and be the secondary scoring option. But, I mean, right now, they don't need him to. And Lonzo Ball has never been, in my opinion, that type of NBA player where you look at him to be one of the top scoring options on your team. He's best with the ball in his hands, making plays for others. And then you have him on the side where he's able to contribute with scoring as the defense shifts to the players that he's making plays for. So you have that as an option instead of as a primary scorer. So I really like him in this environment, and I've always had hope in Lonzo as far as him taking his talent to another level and helping lead a team to a championship in a way that doesn't involve heavy scoring from him on the offensive end. But he is definitely going to be involved in a lot of the aspects of their offense. So Bulls, you did it perfectly. Celtics, please watch whatever the Bulls are doing and follow that guide. Like, you're coming up short, and the Bulls are kind of embarrassing the Celtics at this point because the Bulls haven't been a whole lot since they had Jimmy Butler there, and then obviously going back a little bit further with Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose. So, making a 360 turnaround compared to a season or two ago. So I really like the moves here, and it's been lining up very well for them. So just a nice mix again of veteran presence of a youthful talent, and then you got your bench guys, and then Lonzo's not even in his prime years. He's still fairly young, being just about this fifth season in the league now. So wow, just congratulations once again, and shout out to any Bulls fans out there. But just the third part of this segment, the third act here, is more of a question, but like I said, talking about new dynasties and the return of an old dynasty, will the Boston Celtics get back to being a dynasty? I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I mean, this is one of the two franchises with 17 NBA championship rings, the other being the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Boston Celtics winning their last ring back in 2008 with their big three at the time with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. So yeah, last time they were in the finals was against Kobe in 2010. So it's been a long time, and right now I feel like it's just a struggle for them just going to be able to make the playoffs or be in the play-in tournament. Having to win a game depending on who your opponent is, that's going to be tough. So the Celtics are not getting it right, in my opinion, and not on their way to being a dynasty, but that doesn't mean they can't be, because Tatum and Brown are fairly young. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. He just had his 25th birthday, and Tatum's just like a year or two behind him. I think he's 24 years old, or will be something like that this season. So definitely have some time, but not a lot of time. Like I said, you're always got to look at your competition. Like, even if you're thinking like in 3 to 4 years we'll be better, well, so will other teams. So Trae Young is definitely in the house right now, so he's hot, and their team is definitely making strides in the right direction. And another, just talking about dynasties or old dynasties or, franchises that have a big market, big name. The New York Knicks don't want to leave them out once again. I feel like they might be in the process of making something where they can compete. Yes, there might not be the type of team that we would consider a dynasty because, you have to win a championship. But could they have, formulated the right pieces to get the franchise back on track for what they were saying, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where they're wanting to be that franchise again, where players want to come during free agency to be a New York Knick and play for a winning team, a winning culture to win an NBA championship. And that's where this starts. So what they have right now with player personnel might not be the type of team that would win a championship, but it might just well be the culture that they need to bring in, a huge free agent down the road, whether it be next season, the season after. I can't really think off the top of my head, free agents that are coming up to plug into this topic here, but just in general that, they're putting themselves on the map. People are wanting to watch Knicks games again, as far as people who are not Knicks fans. Like, I get excited watching Knicks. I mean, I really like Derrick Rose and in general and try to follow his career. But, what I'm seeing on the court, I'm interested to see how Kemba Walker fits with the team. And, he had a rough few first games, but, that's his hometown team, and they're happy to have him there. Julius Randle making his first All-Star appearance and wanting to have that Kobe mentality of getting better and improving year to year. So if he's there to stay, RJ Barrett, I'm definitely a fan of his because he went to Duke, so I want to see what he develops into. But you definitely have pieces there to work with. But, the ultimate goal is to attract these headline free agents to, want to play for your team. And maybe if Kevin Durant gets tired of the Brooklyn Nets, if that situation's not working out there, maybe there's some time left for him to go over there or something to that extent. That's just far-fetched, but that's just the last thing I can remember as far as who they were targeting a few years back as far as big headlining free agents to come to play for the Knicks. So, yeah, the Knicks are definitely on the map and definitely heading in that direction where they could possibly lead into something that would build a dynasty. So, once again, just to wrap this up, I'm going to plug in real quick. Another Whose Man Is This? Like I said in the last video, Whose Man Is This is basically where I'm comparing like an NBA player to like some other celebrity, just pretty much based off of looks. So right now, as far as the picture that's on ESPN Fantasy League, Fantasy Basketball, if you're looking at that picture, Tristan Thompson to me looks like Pop Smoke for some reason. I think the way they have his picture taken up close, real close, and the way he has his hair braided off to the either sides. And yeah, just a quick look at that is like the most equivalent person I could see as far as looking like Pop Smoke in the league. So yeah, I'll try to put that on Twitter as well. So just take a look at that and see what you think. Leave in the comments. So everybody, thank you for kicking in the second half. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you're not subscribed, and pass the content along to other people who might enjoy our channel or our podcast. If you listen to the audio only on Anchor.fm or Spotify, check us out on YouTube, both under KISH YZ, KISH space YZ. And then also, you can hit us up and follow us on Twitter and Instagram under Kicking In the Second Half. KISH YZ, KISH_YZ stands for Kicking In the Second Half. Or sometimes Kicks in the Second Half if you like our sneaker content that I do put videos up on YouTube and follow up with pictures on Instagram. So, yeah, thanks again, everybody, and stay tuned for the other part of this. It's actually going to be its own episode 35, but it's Dynasties 2 as well, and we'll do the West. So thank you, everybody. Peace and love.